space between the axon of one and the dendrite of the other is called a synapse, and those little chemicals called neurotransmitters are going to leap across that synapse and meet up with another dendrite, and then it's just going to start going all over again. So it's from one to another, to another, to another, to another, to another, till it gets where it needs to go. Okay, questions so far? Okay. Organs can be divided, the nervous system itself can be divided into two and then one subgroup as well. The central nervous system is the brain and the spinal cord. That is it. There are no extra nerves out there that are part of the central nervous system. It is just the brain and the spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system, however, has two different distinct parts to it. The first are the nerves that connect the CNS to the rest of the body. So all of the nerves that are not part of the brain and spinal cord are going to be listed as peripheral nerves. The big ones are the 12 cranial nerves, and the 31 are the 12 pericranial nerves, and the 31 pair of spinal nerves. However, there is a sub-classification under your peripheral nervous system. What is it?
ANS and...
Right, the ANS, the autonomic nervous system. And this is going to be responsible for your fight or flight reflex, as well as the rest or digest reflex. Okay, and basically the fight or flight is basically if you are threatened in some way, that rush of adrenaline that allows you to either fight your way out of something or flee or freeze, one of those three things. And it has to do with the release of certain neurochemicals in the brain, one of them targeting the adrenal glands, which releases epinephrine. And that helps to stimulate this, but we'll get into the ANS because we've got the sympathetic and parasympathetic divisions under the ANS. Sympathetic is the fight or flight, parasympathetic is the rest and digest. So the easiest way to remember that is
They run.
Hmm?
They run.
They run.
They run.
They rhyme.
Sorry.
No, which one's which? Like which one's sympathetic, which one's parasympathetic? Because a lot of people get it.
Who's para is rest and the rest.
It is. So if you think about a parachute, like let's say you see somebody falling out of a plane and their chute's not opening, you're really sympathetic to them. You're like, oh my God, thank God that's not me. That's gonna suck for that person. You're sympathetic to them.
Mm-hmm.
So their heart's racing, their stuff. As soon as that parachute, they can rest and digest. So safely back down to earth. Okay, it's just one way to remember it because there's a lot of stuff that you kind of gotta get straight. So rest and digest is parasympathetic, fight or flight is sympathetic. Okay? General functions, again, we got to be able to sense things inside and outside and then integrate that into the body or whatever, and then we have to have a response to it. So that's basically what the nervous system does, is it reads the surroundings, it figures out what needs to happen, and then it carries out the response to it. Most of the things are negative feedback loops. They're not positive feedback loops. Like something goes wrong, the body's going to work to fix it. Okay, not the other way around. Something's good and we're going to do something to, so negative feedback is usually the best. We also have to have a way to protect the nervous system itself. Glial cells are specified to help support the nervous system and to protect it. There's 4 distinct types of glial cells found in the CNS. 5 if you count the Schwann cells, which are that line the axons of the peripheral nervous system and some of the spinal nerves themselves. We sometimes refer to this as myelin, M-Y-E-L-I-N. I think I spelled that wrong. M-Y-E-L.
You said CNS have 5 what?
There's 4 different types of glial cells associated with it. If you associate the Schwann cell, that would be 5, but Schwann cell is not really technically a glial cell. Myelin, yeah. You guys know what disease targets myelin? There's a couple, but the one that's most well known. Okay, first of all, let me explain what myelin does. If I have a lamp, right? I got the cord to the lamp, and I'm going to plug it in. We got a nice flow of electricity, right? And the light can turn on and off at will, right? Why do we have this nice flow of electricity? What would happen if I scraped all of that plastic coating off of the lamp cord? Like if
You're
I'm exposed all the
exposed to the
wires,
electricity.
it would short out,
current.
right? It wouldn't work properly. The signal wouldn't get from the outlet to the light bulb because it would short out somewhere along the way because I've scraped off all of that protective plastic that's coating it, and I have exposed wires everywhere, right? That's what the myelin does. Think of it as the plastic coating in a plug, in a cord, electrical cord. And what that's gonna do is insulate it so that it doesn't short out. So what disease are you familiar with that might target that and cause things to short out a little bit?
Maybe Parkinson's.
Parkinson's is a little bit different. Multiple sclerosis. Yeah.
Oh.
Right. So the myelin is destroyed in multiple sclerosis. It's an autoimmune disease, so the body is attacking itself. I have an autoimmune disease, so I know a lot about them. Mine attacks the joints. The MS attacks the myelin in the peripheral nervous system mostly, and that causes the numbness and tingling and sometimes the inability to use a hand or an arm or be able to speak properly. Now, the good thing is that some of the myelin can be regenerated. The nerves themselves, however, cannot. So once they're damaged permanently, they're damaged permanently. So the goal is to stop them from being damaged to begin with. Okay, I just way took off on a tangent there, sorry. Okay, so here's your brain and your spinal cord. So this is your CNS. Brain and spinal cord. Your peripheral nervous system right here are your cranial and spinal nerves, as well as all of the branches of those. And then we have the autonomic and the somatic, which somatic is skeletal muscle associated with. The autonomic is fight or flight and rest and digest. Okay, so those are your divisions of the skeletal or the nervous system. Sensory, meaning feeling something. We have some sort of receptor cell. They are inside the body as well as outside of the body. They are going to take in information. That's all they're doing is they're pulling in information. Those are considered sensory cells or sensory receptor cells or neurons that are going to transmit information. So if I pick up my coffee cup and the coffee is too hot and I take a big old sip, the cells that are affected by that are the sensory receptor cells of the nervous system, okay? If something's going on in my body, let's say my blood pressure starts to drop, the sensory cells are gonna pick that up and they're gonna send a signal to the brain to say, hey, we need some help with this because we don't wanna die. And what it's gonna do is start to target the kidneys to retain water and put more water from this interstitial fluid back into the vascular system quickly. So everything's connected, and the nervous system is what kind of connects it together because we don't do anything, our bodies really don't do anything without input from the central nervous system. It's keeping it all running. Okay, so again, they're gonna generate those impulses, it's gonna go to where it needs to go. Let's say I have my shoes too tight and I'm getting a blister. That would not be a reflex arc because it's not a matter of protecting the body from short harm, it's just an annoyance at this point. Those cells in my foot, pain receptors, are going to recognize the type of receptor it is. It's going to send that impulse from my foot up through the sciatic nerve in the back, through the plexus, to the spinal cord. It's gonna go up the spinal cord into the brain. Now, once the brain receives that message, it's gonna integrate it, it's gonna figure it out, it's gonna decode it and go, okay, we know what the problem is. Your shoe's a little too tight, you're rubbing the wrong way, you're going to get a blister. So what it's going to do is it's going to send the solution, let's say the solution is to take off my sock or whatever, take my shoe off. It's gonna send that solution back from the brain, back down the spinal cord, back down my leg, back down to my foot, or whatever I need to do so that I can do this. Basically, that's a little bit more complex than what I was thinking of, but that's the way it works. It's gonna go up and then back down, or from my finger all the way up. A reflex arc doesn't need that. What am I thinking? The direction of some things, okay? Decisions follow, impulses go along to the effectors. So we've got affect and effect. Motor function is the effector. So I'll a little bit more. motor functions, somatic, which is conscious control of skeletal muscles. It's gonna allow us to take my foot out of the shoe. And then autonomic, which is your non-voluntary stuff. Okay, this is where you have your hypovolemic, meaning your fluid in the body is dropped and your blood pressure goes down. The brain gets that information from the somatic or the automatic nervous system, and it's going to act to fix it, okay? All right, glial cells. They support and do other things. They also help to clean up the nervous system as well as produce myelin and help to nourish the system as well. So the glial cells are found predominantly in the brain and the spinal cord. Now these four, the first four, are usually found mostly in the brain, whereas when we get down into the spinal cord, we see more myelin sheath made by Schwann cells. So the first one is the microglial cells. Now those are extremely small, and what they do is they go around and they clean things up. These are your cleaning cells. The phagocytosis, which is that engulfing of another cell. Kind of think about Pac-Man, where it's going along and it's getting the little balls. That's a phagocytic cell. It's basically coming along and eating the bad stuff. And then it's gonna eat it and eat it and eat it, and eventually it's gonna explode and then we'll have pus. But anyway, but yeah, that's what pus is. It's like little dead phagocytic cells and all of the stuff that was inside of them that have lost the battle.
Goodness.
It's actually funny.
Pac-Man.
Okay, so those are your phagocytic. If we do have some cerebral injuries or spinal injuries, these are going to be responsible for that scar tissue that we can see on a CT scan or an MRI, where we have like a little white spot where the brain has kind of repaired itself. Because your nervous system itself, most of the neurons cannot do what?
I'm sorry, what?
Most neurons cannot do what?
Divide,
Right, they cannot undergo mitosis, or cellular reproduction, which means that once it's dead, it's dead. It's not going to help, like our skin, if we get a cut, the cells can start to divide quickly, produce collagen, and we can generate new skin cells, right? Even the liver can regenerate itself because we can multiply cells, right? The brain, not so much. However, glial cells can. Glial cells can undergo mitosis. So when we're talking about brain cancer, what kind of cells are we usually looking at? Glial cells, right. When we have brain cancer, like actual brain tumors, most of the time we can recognize that they're glial cells, because cancer is just a cell multiplying incorrectly. That's all cancer is. If it happens further along in the mitosis stage, I believe that's benign, and closer at the beginning it's malignant. I can't remember, I always get those two confused. But all it is a cell that is dividing improperly. The information has gotten garbled somewhere, and then it starts to reproduce itself, the damaged copy, over and over and over and faster. And that's where we get cancer. So when we see brain cancer, it's usually glial cells that are the cause of it. We also have these oligodendrites. And what that means is scanty. Oglia is scanty. It's the medical term for scanty. So basically an oligodendrite, is they don't have very many dendrites. There's only like 1 or 2 dendrites associated with these particular cells. And they're actually going to wrap themselves around and help form that myelin sheath along with your Schwann cells. Okay? So they're going to be the insulation on your plug. Astrocytes. Now these are little buggers that they're great, but they're also horrible, because the astrocytes are the inoperable form of brain cancer. If someone has an astrocytoma, then they're probably not going to make it, and it's because of the structure of the astrocytes. So basically, these are the blood-brain barrier cells. Some things can get to the brain, some things can't. Okay, so these are what are going to tell what can and can't get into the brain. But because of their structure, they're star-shaped, astro, star. So they have a lot.
Oh,
Huh?
It just made sense to me now.
Oh, okay.
Astra.
So they have a lot of little finger-like dendrites that'll kind of go up into the brain tissue. So when we have a cancer formed of astrocytes, so we have an astrocytoma, those are the type of brain cancer cells that are going to be throughout the entire brain. They just kind of reach out and you see like little fingers of cancerous cells all through the brain tissue, which is where we have that inoperative brain cancer, because you can't get them all without destroying the brain in the process. So those are the ones that, if you have somebody who's got brain cancer and they have astrocytoma or an astrocytoma type of cancer, that's not a good thing. A meningioma, great, we can take that out in a heartbeat, because it's the meninges, which is the covering. Astrocytoma, not good. Okay. And then the epidermal cells, which are lining the ventricles, okay? And they also cover the choroid plexus. Do you guys remember what the choroid plexus does from yesterday? Is any of this familiar from yesterday?
Some of it, like,
It's,
more so like the test review stuff is if she like, so if it's not on a quiz or a test, it's like she doesn't know it either. So I think I told maybe Gina and TT yesterday, I was like, I feel like we're all learning this together, like teacher included.
yeah.
So like if it's not, so like she'll go and like scan on the PowerPoint slides and everything, but if it's not, like if she can't remember it from the test or something, then it's like, oh, it's not important.
Yeah.
But like she's really gearing us, not learning everything like all encompassing, it's just learning the questions on the
It's
test.
okay, because I'll go over with you again when you get to my surgery classes.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's not ever gonna go away, I promise you, it's not gonna go away. Because I love anatomy, so I'm gonna be talking about it for the next 2 years. So, anyway, the choroid